Hi, everybody, and welcome to Backstage. Thanks again to everybody that joins us each time to see who our new guest is. And for those of you here for the first time, boy, you want to look at that library. There is some remarkable information that is shared firsthand by people who have made the journey. They've earned their stripes many times over. So, as we look to the guests that we're going to have each time, everybody puts in their suggestion. And you know what? I couldn't see the forest because there was a tree in my way. And we have four extraordinary people that are educational support managers that have all had an illustrious career teaching. So I'm like, well, guys, we got it right here. We should take advantage of that. So today we're going to be with Randy Greenwell, and I will let him give you a thumbnail sketch of his own background. He's a great friend. Randy, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, Tim. Good to see you this morning.
Tell us about you.
Well, I'm a Hoosier transplant. That's what I call myself. Originally from St. Louis and went to school for my undergrad at Illinois State University for my music ed degree. And then got my first job in a small town in Indiana, Winamac, Indiana. And was there for 2 years, moved on to Yorktown near Ball State, your alma mater. Got my wind conducting degree at Ball State with Joe Scagnoli when I was at Yorktown, and then moved on to Lawrence Central, where I spent 24 years of a total 32-year career in music education. And it's been a great ride. And started working for Consumer in 2017, right after going to the Rose Parade, dropped the mic and started for Consumer. So it's been a quick 4 years, I guess, Tim.
It doesn't seem like 4 years, does it?
No, it does not.
I mean, I'm thinking a lot less than that. So what was the impetus to make you say, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to jump over and stick my toe in the music industry? What was that about?
Well, I think, marching band to some degree can be a young person's activity. And I really was wanting to move into a little bit slower pace and not do the everyday grind of marching band. I was also to the point where, I was 55 and it was time to start looking for what my next journey was going to be out of music education as a teacher. And I wanted something where I could give back. That was really, really important to me. I wanted to be able to have some impact on younger teachers and being able to give back to a great, career in music education. And that's really, really important to me and still is to this day. And Consumer, frankly, provided that opportunity. It offered some new challenges and it afforded me the opportunity to be able to have some of that impact that I wanted to have.
What do you miss about being a band director?
The students, those interactions, the ability to watch adolescents grow and become adults. And the things that music teaches them that go beyond just the art of making music. That's obviously such a great thing. And of course, in our current situation, it's been somewhat stalled and taken away from us. And you certainly learn to appreciate that even more, but the interaction with students. And so this job has afforded me the opportunity to do that, just not on a full-time basis, and develop that relationship and that culture.
But you get the best of both worlds in this situation, yeah?
You do. You get to one of the things that was funny. Jim Hahn at the Rose Parade band directors dinner called me up to the stage and he said, "This is Randy and he's retiring in a couple of weeks here. And guess what Randy's the most excited about?" And I was like, "Oh boy, Jim, what are you going to say?" And he said, "Randy's not going to miss faculty meetings anymore." So that's one of the things I can tell you I do not miss. But I will tell you I did have a bit of anxiety when I first started working for Consumer because, I didn't have that daily bell to guide my day. And so really had to rethink and relearn how to go through the process of organizing a day and being productive. Because, I could sit at home and watch TV and drink a cup of coffee. I wouldn't be working for Consumer for very long, but I could do that, right? Because we work remotely. So yeah, that's been the biggest adjustment, I think.
I'm not sure you could do that. I think after the second cup of coffee, you'd be up sorting things out or organizing something or whatever. during this time when we're quarantined or sequestered or whatever word you want to use, and I know you're still communicating all the time with the people that are part of your customer community. How's that work?
It's actually been working really well. I mean, I think there will be, and I'm probably getting ahead of myself with one of the questions you're probably going to ask. How do we reframe things after this is all over? I think there are going to be some things about technology that are going to hang on that have been very, very good. Obviously, you can reach more people over a shorter period of time. So the conversation has kept going. I found some opportunity to work on some projects of my own. I'm working on a book. I've got my chops built back up as a trumpet player, and I'm actually, feeling really good about that part and using that to kind of keep me going every day. I've always exercised, but I found a better balance, working from home on a full-time basis and doing the virtual thing. I've been able to carve out time to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. And I think that's one of the things that perhaps this COVID thing can teach all of us is how to take better care of ourselves as people. The most frustrating thing is those human face-to-face live interactions, but Zoom's not a bad substitute. It is what it is right now.
This is so good, and great teachers, they make it great, whatever the circumstances or the parameters are. We both know that. If you were back on the podium now in front of your crew, what would you do to keep them engaged in the band culture?
Well, I think the first thing is we have to accept the fact that things are not the same. And whatever the new normal becomes, we're going to have a lot of work to do with our ensembles when we get back at it. And I know there's some great educators out there, as we're going to learn with the clinics that are coming up that ConSummer is sponsoring next week on recruitment and retention. There's some great things going on across the country, great educators that are finding an opportunity in the crisis, right? And I think that that's going to be key, but I think the most important thing is that we continue to develop those relationships with students. If I was doing it, I was having this conversation with a young educator the other day. If I was doing it, I would structure it so that I could do some one-on-one time with students and work with them pedagogically, but most importantly, just have one-on-one conversations with them. I mean, what a great opportunity. And I'd be really trying to vet that with my administrators to help them see that that's really the only way that we can engage. One of the things I've heard from a lot of educators is I'm teaching virtually while I'm also teaching in person at the same time. And finding ways to engage the students, maybe having the virtual students play something for the live students and the live students play something back for virtual could be an effective way. And I would be trying to think out of the box as much as possible. But I think the most important thing that's going to come out of all of this, if you can end this crisis with every single student coming back to your program when it's over, that's a win.
Yeah. Retention is everything at this point. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'm going to turn the compass just a little bit on you here, because they always say if you want to be a good teacher, hang around good teachers. And I know that you hired wonderful people that were part of your staff. What did you look for, Randy, when you were, those people were coming in, interviewing them and so forth? What were the key things you looked for?
Key things. One was I was not looking for somebody who was going to be a yes person. I was looking for somebody that was going to challenge the norms with me in turn, but respectfully, obviously, but challenge the creative norms, that was going to, number one, care about kids first and not their resume and their career. And if somebody came in and was talking about how great our program was and how much they wanted to be a part of that, that was a little bit of a red flag for me, because I think in some of those instances, maybe they're looking to build their resume as opposed to work with students. And so I was always looking for the teacher first, the relationship builder first, because I knew that if they could do that, that they'd be able to teach our students. And that's really what guided me throughout that whole thing. And that came down to student teachers interviewing to student teach with Matt and I, or staff members both. That was a really, really important question, and usually the first one that we asked.
Yeah. Everybody looked, and of course, here's this stellar program. You must have had a budget that was just next to the national debt. Yeah, how'd that?
It was significant, but it wasn't as significant as others. I mean, we were a pretty diverse school, and so we had to work really, really hard. Fortunately, we worked on creating a culture where We supported the athletic department. We supported the community by doing some parades. And so we got some really great support from our community foundation because they knew that we were in the same game that they were, and that was providing great opportunities for students. And so we got a lot of support. When we did that Rose Parade trip, I think the cost was somewhere around $2,200, and they got that cost down to like $1,400 per student. And so they did a lot to really raise a lot of money to get kids that had never traveled. A lot of those kids had never been on an airplane before. So it really was a community effort. And I think that building that culture where it's not just about your program, but it's about everybody is really, really important. And we talk, Stephen Covey talks about building that emotional bank account. That's really, really important to doing that with your constituents in your school system and not just always asking for things, but giving a lot.
You read the whole book, didn't you?
Yeah, I
did. Randy, there's a lot of people, and I think it's great that they watch the Backstage productions because they're student teachers or they're getting ready to jump into the profession. What advice do you have for those first-year teachers as we look back on our own first years? Yeah.
A lot of young teachers that came out, and I was the same way. You come out and you want to show everybody what you know. Mm-hmm. But as you've said many times in your servitude leadership lectures and in your book, you have to be willing to give a lot. And I think that nobody is going to listen to what you have to say until they know you care about them. And so I think coming out, you have to develop positive relationships with your students and your parents that go beyond the things that you want to show them that you know. And the second piece of that is understanding that you are a lifelong learner and that it's truly a journey. It's not a destination. You're never, I had an educator tell me one time, learning how to conduct is going to be a lifelong journey that you're never going to master. And my trumpet teacher used to tell me that, you're never going to be satisfied. And so being willing to be a lifelong learner and instill that passion in your students will make a big difference in terms of how far you're able to travel. If you're always concerned about trophies or always concerned about, playing everything perfect, it's not going to happen for you. You have to realize that there's always going to be something you're going to unturn or find that could be better. And it's that passion that you have that's going to drive your humility and your success and the impact that you have on your students.
Yeah, we need to take those words and put them in gold, stamp them on every door in front of a band,
Absolutely.
orchestra, or choir room for sure. Let me flip a little bit more in the compass because you've got a foot in both of these communities now. I mean, you're riding the fence between corporate and education. What do you think is the importance, since you have tasted both of these, what's the importance of music industry and music education working together?
Unity. I think that it's really, really important that it's a conspiracy on behalf of kids and that the adults in the room have to talk and continue to exchange ideas and to look for every opportunity in the crisis, not the crisis in the opportunity. And I think those that do that and that work collectively together are going to come out of this very, very strong. I think those that look for the negative and look for the victimization that has occurred because of this are the ones that are going to struggle. And so I think it's a really important message that the industry and educators work together because it's really a small community. I mean, when you look at the food chain of the world, there's a lot of people out there that don't necessarily view cultural arts or art or fine arts or music as a really important priority right now. And I think it's the one thing that's going to maintain our sanity. It's the one thing that makes us unique as human beings. And so if we can't work together to strive to push the wagon in the same direction, then I think we're in real trouble. And I see a lot of industry partners working together to do that. And I think Con Summer's at the forefront. I'm a little bit biased in that, but I think, we're a community of educators, experienced educators that also have some experience in the corporate world. And we're afforded the opportunity and the vision from you, as well as the support of our partner company Steinway and Steve Zaff, our CEO, to push us in unparalleled directions to support music education and teachers in the future.
Yeah. 1 + 1 = 3.
Absolutely.
if we do it. Because your position is so unique, and even within the whole industry, it's unique. Because I'll have people say, "Hey, Randy's coming today," and I'm like, "Is he bringing you an instrument?" No, no, no. But Randy's and the kids are all excited. What do you do as an ESM when you walk in those doors at those band rooms and so forth?
Well, it's a quick pro quo of being able to exchange relationships. You've developed that relationship with that person that's brought you in, hopefully, but then you're trying to also have a massive impact in a very short a time, kind of a fly-in to develop that relationship with the students. And so, I try to bring a lot of energy and passion to it, and let them see, the music making process perhaps through a different lens. I've also, recently taken on the product manager position with the Marching Winds. So I'm really excited about that because I've been working with a lot of industry partners to develop better instruments, to continue to innovate. And I'm really, really excited about that energy and the community, our partnership with Blue Devils, just the energy that we're creating there to be able to bring better product and continued innovative educational opportunities for students to continue to learn and grow in the activity. And I think it's really, really important that we're always thinking about the holistic aspect of the student, not just the musical part, but what is it that music does to develop the character, to develop the leadership skills, to develop the citizenship and the person that's going to make society better. And the last part of that is developing a listener, right? Because without listeners and audience, we're not going to survive. We have to be able to develop that audience. So part of our responsibility as educators should be to opening students to the eyes of great music and great music making, that goes beyond just the classroom.
How important are the parents in the puzzle?
Well, some people say, you got to recruit students. I think you have to recruit the parents first. The parents are the ones that are going to be out there talking in the community. You have to be willing to listen to them. You have to be willing to enrich their knowledge of what it is that you're doing for their kids, and help them look at the broader scope. And sometimes that's tough. I mean, it's, parents are going to be big advocates for their own kids, but we have to learn to educate them about the big scope of what it is that we're trying to do collectively together, because they often don't see that part of it. They just see their kid. So you have to be willing to listen to what their concerns are with their kid, but then you have to also be able to help them understand that we're in it together. And that's a win-win for everybody.
Let me just twist a little bit. How important is communication with your administrators?
Yeah, that's a really big one. I did get my administrative degree late in my teaching career at Butler University, and at one point I thought maybe I wanted to become an educational leader. I was already a music department chair, but I thought maybe I wanted to go that next level and slow down and get into administration. So I said the word slow down. I think the great administrators that are out there are the ones that don't slow down. They're the ones that are constantly looking for ways to give the students in their building the best opportunities. Those are the best administrators I've seen. And I think we have to understand the unique journey that they're on and the unique set of parameters that they have to deal with. And I think that seek first to understand and then be understood principle has to happen with administrators. I think it's helpful when you go to an administrator with a problem to have 3 possible solutions, so they can see what's behind door 1, 2, and 3. And then they get to make that decision, as opposed to just focusing on the problem, and not really, helping educate them about what potential solutions are. I think that if you don't box them in, many administrators will make great choices to help solve problems, and they'll feel good. They'll feel like they contributed, because a lot of them, let's face it, don't have a music background. They don't understand necessarily what it is that we do. I hear directors say that all the time. They just don't understand what we do. Well, are we going down and playing happy birthday for them for their birthday? Are we, inviting them to parent meetings? Are we keeping them abreast as to what's going on in our program, even if they don't ask us to do that? Are we supporting other aspects of the educational initiatives in the building through music? Those are the things that are going to help build that rapport. And again, it comes back to that relationship building.
It's the give. It always comes back to giving.
Absolutely.
People go, well, I don't have time to give. No, you don't have time not to give.
Yep.
So what's around the corner for Randy Greenwell? What are you going to do? What's your future got in store?
Work till I die, like you. I mean, I don't see ever getting off that treadmill. I mean, I think that's what energizes me. For me, it's going to be to maintain some relevance, and to do that, um, is to continue to grow. Richard Saucedo and I have had this conversation. I've had this conversation with you before. The three unique commonality between us, I think, is that we're continued learners. I go to clinics. It's funny. Real quick story. I went to Texas to work with a band in Spring, Texas, a couple of months ago, or a couple of years ago. Gosh, a couple of years ago, a student teacher of mine, former student teacher of mine, Billy Skimbos, is there,
Yeah, Billy.
and his teaching partner is a great educator, and I learned more from them during those 3 days when I was supposed to be clinicking their groups and work with their groups. I learned every bit as much, if not more, than probably what they learned from me in those 3 days. And it really opened my eyes to, okay, you just got to continue to learn. And that's one of the reasons why I've, been practicing my horn so much, is I learn more. And I think I'm a better player today because I've learned some things through being an educator that I've applied to my own playing, and just watching friends like Chip Krotz and people like that do clinics, and just applying those things and continuing to grow. And to me, that's what's exciting. That's what motivates me to get up out of bed every morning. And I think that's what I'm going to continue to do, is maintain some sense of educational relevance by being a great learner, and then continuing to facilitate that information and develop those relationships so that people can continue to get better information that makes their groups better, better information that makes their relationships with their students better. And that's what I'm going to continue to do.
So the more you know you don't know.
Exactly.
Well, we were really smart at 24, weren't we?
Yeah. And, absolutely. Yeah. If I only knew then what I know now. And I think that's the other thing too, with young educators. Don't be afraid of making mistakes, but be humble and be realistic about it, and find yourself a really good mentor, or mentors, plural, to assist. And don't be afraid to ask questions. There are no stupid questions. There are just people who lack knowledge, who don't know they lack knowledge. And that's when it gets scary.
Yeah. Well, the theme that has just been dead center in all this, is the main drive, is relationships, building relationships, feeding relationships. And as we all know, and that why we're talking is because of an extraordinary friendship. Otherwise, that probably wouldn't happen. I'm going to give you one more shot here, and I'll let you think about while I'm talking, just because there's so many teachers who watch these and they're looking for those nuggets, right? Maybe I can get one new wrinkle out of this that will help. If you were doing it all over again, Randy, what one thing would you just aim on, focus on all the time, grab on, grip on, etc.?
Well, first of all, just think out of the box. Everybody knows that a majority of us can teach pedagogy. And I was having this conversation with a young educator the other day. You've got to focus on out of the box problem solving. You've got to do that. And that means that think about it the way a student would think about it. How many Zooms has a student done since the spring of 2020? So what kinds of things can we do that are creative, that don't just, they're not band oriented things? And it's always going to come back to that. How can we exchange? How can we continue to have face-to-face relationships through technology that help us endear ourselves as teachers to our students? And that takes out of the box thinking. And so I was telling a teacher the other day, and we were trying to brainstorm some ideas, playing call and response, doing that one-on-one, sharing our favorite musician, using music as the common theme, share our favorite musician. And maybe for them, it's a rap artist. Maybe for me, it's classical music or jazz. That's okay. Just allowing ourselves to continue to use music to understand each other, because in the end, that's all we're going to have, right? And the continued development of that path, knowing that we're going to be able to do the things that we need to do to help our kids play better, live in person when this is all over. That's still going to be what we have to do. We have to live in the moment. What can we do right now to continue to develop those? And I know we keep hammering this relationship thing. What can we do to do that? So if that means, maybe we're doing something that's a little bit out of the box, like talking about music careers, or talking about how music can help us be a better lawyer.
Yeah.
How can music help us be a better doctor? What are the discoveries there? And opening their eyes to that. But doing it in a way that they still feel relevant to the conversation. Because what I'm seeing when people are teaching virtually and they're teaching live is that the virtual people don't feel like they're looking at a snow globe of activity that's going on, while the live people are watching the same thing virtually. They're seeing one face. So we have to find ways to activities that center around being able to keep people engaged and not feeling panicked about it. Asking our students, what kinds of things would you like to do? Maybe having them conduct a piece of music for the first time. I've done that with students, and you'd be surprised, you'd be shocked at how thrilled they are to give a crack at that.
Yeah. There's a lot of opportunities that we wouldn't otherwise tap.
Absolutely.
Now, Randy, thanks. I love you. You're my dearest friends. And if I had a child, I'd make sure he or she would be in your band, because I know it would be better. Thanks for being an ESM, part of our Consumer family. And for those of you who don't know Randy, pick up the phone, call him, talk to him. It'll be like the Library of Congress coming from the other side. So to all of you, thanks for being at Backstage. We'll see you the next time around there. And thanks again, Randy. Take care.
Thanks so much, Tim.
Bye-bye.
Yep.